Hello, Amari Sludum here. We create videos to help support your wellness journey. In today's video, we're going to make some vegan chicken. I'm also going to bread it and fry it, so watch till the end so you can see how this is made in full. So this recipe is not one that I created. I have made vegan chicken recipes before in the past, but I haven't been very successful. So I wanted to try out this recipe and see how it comes out and possibly save you the trouble of making a recipe that might not taste too good. I am very hopeful about this recipe. I saw a lot of great reviews. So the backbone of this recipe is vital wheat gluten, and all that is just the protein from wheat flour. I remember when I was majoring in nutrition and food science as an undergrad, in our food lab, we had to isolate wheat gluten. And basically, all I had to do that, if I can remember correctly, was I kind of massaged the protein, the gluten out of the wheat. What was left over was a very gummy texture. So luckily, you can buy gluten on its own. You don't have to isolate it from wheat flour, although it's not too difficult. And it comes in kind of a powdery form. The other backbone of this recipe is chickpeas. Chickpeas and aquafaba. And all aquafaba is the liquid that you can find in beans, like chickpeas, even tofu. If you notice, there's a bit of liquid if you buy the containers. That's aquafaba. I usually save that because you can use it as an egg substitute in baked goods, and it really helps keep food moist. So how we're going to do this recipe is I'm going to first make the chicken, and I'll show you the ingredients in a bit, and then after that I'm going to show you the ingredients for the breading and frying, and I'll make that as well. So you don't have to bread it and fry it. This recipe, you can omit that part, but I wanted to include it in two segments in case you just want to see the first part. Let me show you what is in this recipe, and then we will go ahead and get started. So I'm going to make this recipe doubled, and I'm going to freeze the extra. So fingers crossed that it comes out well. Our first ingredient is 400 grams of chickpeas and the liquid in the cans. So 400 grams is about 15.5 ounces of chickpeas. White wine vinegar, and that's 2 tablespoons. 2 cubes of not chicken bouillon, and this is going to give a nice flavor. The recipe actually calls for soup seasoning. I didn't have that, so I'm just going to use bouillon, and hopefully that will work. 50 grams of silken tofu. If you don't have a scale, that's about 1/4 of a block. We have about 400 grams of vital wheat gluten, and this is a really great source of protein. I want to show you here, there's 23 grams of protein in just 1/4 cup. So if you are looking to up your protein, this would be a really great source. And then for our spices, I have 2 teaspoons of garlic powder and 4 teaspoons of onion powder. And then I have about 70 milliliters of water. To make this recipe, you're going to need some sort of high-speed blender. So we're going to add in all of the ingredients except for the vital wheat gluten. So we had our chickpeas, we had our water, our spices, this is our white wine vinegar, our silken tofu, and then you're going to also add your bouillon. Whatever type of bouillon you like is fine. And this is going to blend until it comes to a very watery type of consistency. Our vital wheat gluten is going to be slowly added to the liquid mixture. I'm going to use a KitchenAid for this. If you don't have one, that's okay. You can just knead it on your own. So I'm doing this a little bit opposite. I'm adding the liquid first to the KitchenAid. As you can see, it's quite a bit of liquid there. So you're going to want to add this very slowly, and then use the kneading extension and slowly add in the vital wheat gluten, just a little bit at a time. I'll be honest, I didn't look at the recipe in full, so it might have said that you're going to add the liquid to the vital wheat gluten instead of the opposite of how I did it, but it worked how I did it, so we're going to roll with it. And you're going to knead this for about 5 minutes, pretty fast, so it comes to a very kind of almost Play-Doh type of texture. It's going to feel like it's going to clump together. It should be fairly smooth, and then you're going to set that to rest for about 10 minutes. So remember, I doubled this recipe. I'm going to cut it in half and leave that for later. The recipe says to cut the mixture into thirds. And then once you have it cut up into thirds, you're going to cut that third into sixths. And the reason for this is because we're going to layer the different pieces, and it's going to make it almost like a chicken meat texture. And you're going to take each sixth of the piece and put it in between some wax paper and roll it. So as you can see, I don't have a roller. I'm just using a water bottle. And you're going to roll it out until it's pretty thin and elastic. You don't want any holes, of course, so not too thin. You're going to take each piece and spread some vegetable oil on top. I used olive oil because that's all I had on hand. And you're just going to layer it. And then you're going to just keep repeating that for the next 5 pieces and keep layering them on top of each other. So as you can see, it is a pretty involved process, but I do think that the extra effort does really make a big impact instead of just lumping the whole mixture and cooking it that way, which you could do, I think. You're going to want to make sure that your last layer is a little bit larger than the others, because this layer is going to be wrapped around all of the others, and I'll show you what that means next. So you're going to just try and kind of stretch it over. You're still going to layer it, of course, with the vegetable oil. I think that helps with the stretching part. And so it's going to kind of go on top as best as you can. I did get a little bit better with this as I practiced, so this is my first one that I'm doing, and you're seeing it's a little bit sloppy, but it still worked. And this encases all of the layers that we have, and it makes one big nice chicken breast, or fake chicken breast, of course. So I'm going to show a close-up right there. It kind of looks like pizza dough in a way, and it's a very spongy type of texture. So the recipe doesn't say to do this, but from my experience in making seitan, it works much better when you wrap the vital wheat gluten up in some parchment paper and then add some Reynolds wrap over it. You want to make sure it's loosely wrapped because the vital wheat gluten will expand as you're cooking it. And you're going to put it in some sort of steamer. So I don't have a traditional steamer, but this worked for me. And you're going to let it broil for about 90 minutes, okay? And then after 90 minutes is over, you're going to take it out. Watch your fingers. It's going to be pretty hot. These are all of the ingredients that we're going to use to coat the chicken. So you can refer to the recipe, but there's like an egg batter portion and then also the flour portion. And so I'm going to take out my vegan chicken. It's pretty solid, it's pretty dense, and let me do a close-up for you. And It's kind of a similar texture to like a raw chicken breast, I think. So the recipe doesn't call for cutting it. I think they just bread it and fry it as is, but I wanted to cut mine into chicken strips and it cuts pretty nicely. I recommend if you are going to cut it, make sure that you let it sit for a little bit and you can see the different layers there. You're going to dip the vegan chicken in the egg type mixture and then coat it in the wheat flour and spices. And I think you can use whatever spices that you would like. I used some chili lime spice. Let me zoom in and show you what it looks like breaded. So I'm going to put mine in an air fryer because I don't like to deep fry things. And I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil on top. So, of course, this is going to look a little bit different than the traditional recipe. I'm putting it in the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. I found 15 minutes was a little bit too long. All right, so we're all done. I'm going to zoom in and show you a picture of the finished product. And so this is the fried chicken, and then I did cut up the rest. I'm actually gonna freeze it and just use it for stir fry. The fried chicken tastes great. I will say it is a bit time consuming. As for taste, does it taste like chicken? From what I remember, not exactly. I think it tastes better though. It's definitely something that I would add to stir fries and not feel like I'm eating too much of a processed product. So I highly recommend, even though it does take a bit of time and effort, it's totally worth it. It's by far the best vegan chicken recipe I found on the internet so far. I hope you liked this recipe. If you do make it, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll have more wellness videos soon. Take care, have a great rest of your day, and bye.